Well, this talk has these two purposes, okay? I want you to think about the relevance of effective communication of climate-related risk in today's society. This is my purpose. And the consequences of a non-effective communication. Let's see if I achieve or I'm able to achieve this. And also, I want you to offer awareness of the process of communication, this biometeorological risk, and make you think about its consequences at these personal, social levels. Okay, these are the purposes of this title, from biometeorological science to emotional communication of risk. And science, maybe this is not the best title. Emotional communications is a type of communication, but I wanted to say how you communicate with some emotions inside your messages, which is a bit different, okay? So in this sense, the agenda is going to be very easy. Something about biometeorology and how we use words. Then the actual context of climate change and the impacts this is producing on communication. Some challenges to obtain a better communication of risk, and just a presentation of effective communication, which is a video of the plan of adaptation to climate change we have developed in the city of Santander in northern Spain. So to begin with, let's play with words. So we have a first experiment. Okay, this is a definition of biometeorology. It's the study of the interaction between living organisms, atmospheric processes, not climate, not weather, okay, and variables, blah, blah, blah. But any definition, any sentence we produce, it has to be accurate and precise. Accuracy and precision are properties of devices. When we speak about a thermometer, it is accurate if the measurement is close to reality. In this case, we are using words to give an idea of reality. When we speak about precision, we refer to the device. In this case, our brain is the device. This is going to be important through this talk, okay? So words are very powerful. But to communicate, we need to know, we need to be aware that any of us has three patterns inside to communicate. And one is predominant. We have the auditive pattern, we have the visual pattern, and we have the kinesthetic pattern. And when we communicate, we are using three of them. And when we receive information, we are using three of them. One is predominant in each person. I know the one is predominant in my case. If I use this mode to communicate to you in a class, there will be students or people who say, wow, such a good professor. But there will be people who say, wow, don't understand anything. Because they are using a different pattern, the predominant one, to the one I'm using. That's why the feedback is important when I see it to change my pattern to be able to communicate properly. So think about 3 words, not 5. And try to guess which is your predominant pattern. This is the objective of this talk. Then you become aware of how you the way you are communicating things much better than before. Okay? If you are using words that are related to visual issues, or you are using more words related to kinesthetic approach. Kinesthetic is coming from Greek language. Kines means movement. Sthesic refers to feelings, not feelings, sensations. Okay. So, and I have filters because I'm using a different language now, even if they have the same codes, which are the letters, but I'm constructing my thinking with a more limited number of words that in my traditional or normal language. Become aware of these things when you communicate, and if you are going to communicate risk. Look at this. How much accurate and precise is this communication? What pattern is this? This one. No words. I'm not speaking. But you get the message. But the most important in this communication here is the emotional impact. I'm sure you receive this communication without words, based on the visual pattern. And the emotion you experience is going to depend on many things. If you like swimming or not, there are many filters in your device, in your brain. If you have a child or not. So this emotional impact, you got it. And it's been even printed with colors in your body. So you should find which is the emotion you receive with this visual pattern of communication of a risk without words. So it could be anger, fear, happiness, sadness, surprise, anxiety, love. Could you identify the one you was experienced? This is important to understand the way we think, because it's going to tell us something about the way we produce our speech. So in scientific language, we must be accurate and precise. But methods and statistics are going to facilitate this communication. Okay, because if we have a figure, then we understand what the figure is saying. In this case, I'm mixing some text with some images. Okay, there are two patterns in this case. But when we are communicating statistical results using words, we will introduce mistakes. Our device, it has many biases. So in this sense, we must be careful as researchers. If we use these models that you have spoken about them in many cases here, we say the relative risk is higher when we have a circulation type that is affecting influenza in a specific area of Spain. Okay, but if I ask you, which element do you think increases most the statistical relative risk of living at home? And we use these models, and we obtain a result. Could you give me an answer? Which one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 3. It is 1. The bed. You know why? Most of the people will die on bed. And the model is fine. But it's a consequence of a cascade effect. Okay? Because you are very tired, you are sick, then you end on the bed. But the model will tell us the bed, but that's not real. Okay? So be careful with how we communicate science too. And in some cases, science is so complicated, like in these papers, in which all the electric activity in the world, in the atmosphere, that is producing a magnetic field called Schumann resonance, was statistically related to the hospital admissions in Granada due to heart attacks and problems, similar problems. Statistically was absolutely perfect. But there were people saying, no, but we need to find the pathway. What's going on? And they were able to find that in an experiment, not in reality. Well, there is this Schumann resonance they are having a protective effect on our heart due to transfer of calcium at an intercellular level. But this was an experiment, it's not real. But if we produce a headline saying this, there will be people going to the emergency room because they consider there is a magnetic field here that is affecting my heart. So this can be also a big problem, a warning system that is not working on an accurate and precise way. Okay. So, and we have so many messages from mass media communication like this that they are empty of any content. Like Spain has suffered the most extreme drought in the last 5 years. Is this related to climate? Because in this community, we know it's not. But outside, people get impacted. And as you know, there is an emotion behind. Daily temperature data has been over the mean value in 50% of the days during this period, so it means that you got it, no? The other 50% of the days was below the bar, but there is an impact, emotional impact. Or it has been registered the maximum amount of rainfall in one day since the existence of the empirical records, but there is no date. But there is an emotional impact. Which is the emotion, you will say? This is the key element in this talk. Okay? Keep this in mind. So, climate change. We have evidences of what's going on. Global warming, sea level rising, higher frequency. We have spoken about all these lists these days. We have scientific reports confirming evidences. There are so many. Okay, key facts and statistics on rising temperature on all these problems. We have impacts, real impacts nowadays of what's going on. And we have future impacts of climate change with very extreme situations. And the main conclusion of these projections is catastrophic consequences. I chose one emotion from the list, it's fear. And it's constantly increasing due to the constant messages we are receiving from all the media. Okay, in terms of climate-related risks, biometeorological risks, atmospheric-related risks. So be aware of the situation. We have to be aware of this. So when we are speaking about risk communication, we could define it like the process of conveying information about potential hazards to the public or specific groups. When it is described as emotional, it suggests an approach that not only presents scientific data, factual data, but also should consider the emotional responses of the audience. Okay? Are mass media considering the emotional response of the audience? Let's look at two channels, radio and TV. To be honest, there is no communication. It's just messages. To have communication, there must be a feedback. When I watch TV, I don't have the chance for the feedback. When I listen to the radio, there is no chance for the feedback. Where is communication? We are just receiving messages. There is no communication at all. So this is a real risk. I introduce you to my little dog. Okay, Jean, on the left, this is a real risk, a potential risk. Okay, and I want you to think, well, you see on the right, well, Sarah is at the top and I am at the bottom. Sarah is one person who lives in my city. Okay, I should consider the background of Sarah in relation with dogs. I don't know her, but I'm sure that my dog will go towards Sarah running to say hello. And she may perceive this like a dangerous dog. She will cross the street. An emotion will arise. Fear, panic. But this is because of the lack of knowledge about my dog. Okay, because if I see my dog, she's outside and she's running towards me, I say, oh, such a beautiful dog. Come here. My emotion will be happiness. And it's my dog, and plenty of knowledge about my dog. So can you see the difference of this situation? So Sarah, as she considers the dog is a potential risk, the answer she will experience is going to be, she will get paralyzed. This is the normal answer. Living organisms will give to risk, to natural risk. She will run away. She will confront the dog. Okay? But in my case, because I do not feel vulnerable, I will increase my resilience in my experiences with dogs. Because this feedback is telling me dogs are not dangerous. So now I want you to change the image of my dog with a risk related to climate change. And you try to follow the same sequence. Okay? Anyone, could be heat wave, could be a tornado, it could be I don't know, choose the one you want. And trying to figure out how this will move to the right. Okay? Of course, both. We are considering this is a real risk. So, but we have to give answers. The lack of knowledge can take me to be like, oh my God, the world is going to be finished. If you have some knowledge, you could say, okay, let's see if my thermoregulation is acting properly. Well, acclimatization, I will move to a different place, or biological adaptation, or my dad was very strong with heat, no problem, or cultural adaptation. I will have some choices to confront the risk. So this could be applied to any risk. So, but what's going on? Mass media are constantly sending these messages nowadays. Social networks anywhere. So we are suffering kind of intoxication. We are not able to cope with so much information. So, and in many cases, there is a big miscommunication, right? So, and it's happening that some people, young people, someone mentioned yesterday, they are suffering eco-anxiety. Anxiety is a consequence of fear. And it's an emotion. Because they think that there is no planet B. Well, this is important because it's related to mental health. And it is spreading around the world very fast. Okay? So there is no planet B. So is this message right? Thinking on words? Is the problem the planet? Which is the problem? The problem is that our health, we will die. Is the planet caring about what's going on in the atmosphere? So be careful with the message. They have to be accurate and precise, based on words. Okay? So at the end, this social media and this misinformation is telling us, if we think about this, which is the role of fear in modern societies. Why fear is becoming so important? What happens when human beings are scared? They can be manipulated, they stop thinking, critical thinking will disappear. This is a sociological and psychological approach of communication of risk. So what challenges we have in a better communication of risk? Well, I was speaking about the basis of communication. It's even much more complex, okay? Because as you know, we have a sender, a message. This message is going to be encoded through a channel, a receiver, decoding, feedback. The encoding is based, as you know, in words, in images, could be some sensations. But the receiver, now through this channel, we have so many channels now, receiving constant information. This is going to be important because also the tone of the conversation is part of the messages. So this is quite known, but if you want to know why you think in the way you think, you should follow this neuro-linguistic approach to understand how your thinking is produced. Okay, yeah, and to understand this, the fried egg is just the emotion and the sentence you have in your brain now when there is a thought coming to you. So there are like three types of communication, but to be honest, there is one is unidirectional mass media. In some cases, it could be bidirectional, yes, Twitter, if you want to answer, but the quality of the message in this source can be even worse than a unidirectional message. But you have also the unidirectional when you speak to yourself. Exactly the same. If you are speaking to another person, it's not the same, but you have to consider this also. Because all what I was telling you is happening here, this 7% in the voluntary nervous systems, my device, my brain, my emotions, my symbols, my letters, my words, my sentences, my language, my thinking based on my language connected with emotions, the fried egg. So, but if you want to know why you think in the way you think, you have to go to the autonomous nervous system. This is much more complex. And this is related to communication. This is deep, very deep inside to understand why you think in the way you think. We say in this communication, I cut the cheese like this, like a sector, because my dad, the first time I saw him cutting cheese, he did it like this. And when I was told this, I became aware that there are 100 ways of cutting cheese. You will remember Pablo when you cut cheese next time, I'm sure. Being aware is even more important than knowledge. I was not aware of this until someone told me, why do you cut cheese like this? It seems silly, but it's not. So this is something that Erickson, one researcher, medical doctor, psychiatrist, who developed the Ericksonian language, was telling us that we are making decisions and we are communicating based on our subconscious mind. But the language that this part of our mind is using is not based on words. It's based on metaphoric language and symbols. Symbols are very important. And speaking of climatology and maps, we are using constantly symbols. Be careful with the communication we are submitting to people using symbols like colors. We spoke before. So symbols, metaphoric language, they are creating the way we think and the way we communicate. And we have to be aware of this to be able to project, to send our messages properly to the other persons. So effective communication should be based on this awareness I'm speaking about, effective communication of risk, and also it has to be clear, correct, complete, concise, and compassionate. Okay? And to get this, we have to develop some skills like active listening, observational skills, or emotional management to create rapport. I mean, if you want to sell a product, this is very important. If you're in front of a person, there are several techniques that I know that 90% of people will buy what I'm selling if I follow these techniques. Identify the pattern in which he or she is thinking. I know how to do the mirror. I know how to express with my body, because 85% of communication is non-verbal communication. It should be like this here, not possible. But this is going to be very important to create rapport and to buy the message someone is sending to you, to buy it, even in relation to climate risk. Okay, so there is only one conclusion here. In my case, we are moving as a global society from fear to climate risk towards a global climate of fear, which can be, in my opinion, even worse than natural risk. So communication is playing a key role in this process. Communication of biometeorological risk. And I hope now we are aware of this. This is my point of view. Okay? From my device, with my filters, from my words, okay, with the highest accuracy and precision I was able to generate in this conversation. Okay? And in this sense, I want to present to you just a video we have created that I consider is a good example of this effective communication, with some problems also, but this is I think it's a good example, and I hope you like it.